But did you recognize that the room was flat sat? Did you recognize that I was the only person on there? Did you recognize that I was not only fucking taking orders, but I'm making motherfucking lattes? That I'm doing the cash wrap, that I'm doing to-goes, that I'm running my own fucking food? Did you recognize that I am doing everything that calls for somebody else to fucking be there with me? And you don't want to tip me. All because you want to prove a point.
Welcome to Linecheck's Battle of the Houses. This is a contest featuring back of house and front of house. These are all service industry and hospitality professionals.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I am a sous chef at Encanto in Los Feliz, and I've been in this industry for 11 years now.
Hi, my name is Brian. I've been a bartender in Long Beach for 8 years, and I'm currently working Costa Mesa, Maizano. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's start.
Too slow. Why do staff members deserve to have a free drink after work, better known as a shifty?
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Same reason people never quit jobs. It's a trauma bond. And it helps owners not pay you more, but they allow you to have a shift drink, and it makes everything feel okay. So you walk away like, well, today was horrible, but at least I got that beer.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I know I've been there.
Yeah.
And the beer somehow just makes it feel a little bit better.
I think it's always cool too when you like have one with the chef, because then you're like, because the chefs work harder. They're like always, there's no AC. They're like right over the stove. At least the front of house, you're like chilling with some AC. As a bartender, you're like literally playing with ice. And then you have the cooks in the back just like sweating bullets.
A cold chela to the back of the house is the best thing. When we see a bartender come through with like beers for the kitchen, that for us is like, okay, that modification you put earlier, it's forgiven.
That's literally why you can't even keep beer in the kitchen fridge, because the cooks will go in there and just start sneaking the Modelo's.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't blame my cooks.
I don't know.
I could blame some of their busters or runners, but I don't know about my cooks.
Damn, you really are fast.
I'm gonna hold back on what I was gonna say. Who works harder, front of house or back of house?
I'm gonna have to say it depends where you work, because I've worked at places where I'm literally making syrups, infusing, and I only have like an hour to do it right before my shift. And the same restaurant I was working at, it was just line cooks. There wasn't like any real prep. It was just like frozen meat getting thawed and then prepped for like the same service every day. And I just felt like they were mad chilling. And I was in the back just like rushing, cutting up things, putting tea infusions, blending, trying to make syrups. And then on top of that, sit on my well, come outside, not look sweaty, because you also have to look presentable to the guests. Mm-hmm. And then have people order and have everything that they want.
But did you have a bar back?
Not where I was working there.
Oh, okay.
So it just depends. But then I've also...
y'all be having bar backs and they just do everything for you. And it's just like, okay, that's cute.
It's true, because I worked at a nightclub and we would literally just bartend, wipe down the bottles, and then walk away. And then they'd just have the bar backs do it. And then every shift was just like 6 hours straight, clock in, clock out. So I guess, but that was a nightclub, so I don't know. No food.
Fair enough. I wanted to fight you on it, but I will say it's situational and it depends on the place. It depends on the place. Because I've seen my bartenders like get like tickets, like they get like double railed. No pun intended. But like I've seen them get like to that point, and like I'm like, all right, y'all deserve free food. And then they're like, and kitchen deserves free drinks, and we're like, shots. So like it is definitely like situational.
Cooks prefer shots than drinks? You think?
It's faster to take in the middle of service.
Okay, true. That's true, because I've given a few cooks like Coke deli cups, and then by the end of the shift...
But I've never taken a shot in the middle of service before.
No one ever does, guys. Yeah. It's against ABC regulation, right?
You're so not gonna get this ticket. Fuck.
I got that one. Finally. All right. How should tips be distributed between houses?
Damn. Okay. So, personally, I think it kind of goes with this last question. I think it's based upon the work that was put in. So, and of course, like pay. And again, it's kind of situational, and it should really be figured out amongst the houses. But it's harder for like kitchen because they probably won't speak into it. It's mostly going to be your bar and like your servers. I mean, granted, they are both front of house, but like they're separate because servers and bartenders still aren't like one. In my opinion, I feel like you have three, not just like two.
Yeah.
Although there really is two, but I feel like it's three entities. You've got your bar, you've got your service staff, and you've got your back of house. And like it's situational. Like it just depends. Like when we have done caterings before at my previous location, and if it was all of my back of house doing the event, they got the majority of the gratuity. And I made sure every time I did like a BO that it went to the back of the house because they're doing the work. They're setting up the table, they're reloading the buffet, they are breaking it down, they're doing the prep in the days before. Why shouldn't they reap the benefit of the gratuity? Now, if it's tray pass, let's be real, and don't hate me servers, but you're standing there holding this tray with the food that like kitchen prepared, and you're walking around saying, have one. That doesn't mean you get 30% gratuity. That means that you get a smaller amount than the larger work that was made. In my personal opinion, granted, we all make the chain move, but I think it's based upon like the amount of work that was put in. But that's just like from a back of house standpoint. Front of house and back of house, I think it's just like, it really depends on the place because there's so many. I mean, especially in LA, we've got venues, we've got Michelin restaurants, we've got seated situations, we've got dive bars, we've got just places that just push out pizza and chicken tenders like from the freezer. It just kind of depends, and like it's not saying that not everybody's work isn't appreciated or like valued and stuff. It's just that it just has to make sense so everybody feels like they're seen in the amount of money that they're getting because LA is expensive.
Short version, if the restaurant or venue makes more money in liquor, they should keep more tips.
Who?
The front of house should keep the tips. If 80% of your sales is liquor and only 20% is food, I mean, can't help it. And that's, to me, just like way easier than like this. But if there's a whole like 50-50 split, like if the front of house and back of house are doing the same amount of sales, then I'd say, yeah, you gotta throw tips to the back because especially the amount of prep some kitchens have. You think about that guy at the bottom of the chain, he's making minimum wage.
Yeah.
And then he's the one actually with the cuts on his fingers most of the time. And he's the one with the burns because he's just like running around doing all the stuff that they're just being told to do. And they're like, cool. Yeah. And they're also learning, so.
So.
Oh. Someone's competitive.
I am. What's the worst establishment you've worked at? You have to name it and why. Also, you can take a shot of this if you don't want to answer.
The worst establishment I've ever worked at.
Why?
I'll tell you exactly what. It was this spa. I can't even remember the name. Straight up, like that's how little bit of time I spent there. It was this place in the city of Bell, and it was right next to Culichi Town. The owners were teachers that bought a bar, and in my point in my career, I knew how to bartend, but I never cared about craft. I didn't do prep like that. So I come in, and then there's just like a mess. Like the bottles that they infused jalapenos in had fresh jalapenos in them, which would clog up the spout all the time. They would use Rosie's lime juice and tell us to squeeze lime hand by hand. And I was just like, what's happening here? The inventory, crazy. Like, it was the worst bar. It was just a good example of like people that were bored with money and then they open a bar. So we should make that a thing where like you have to be vetted
Yeah.
to own a bar or a restaurant, because now things are getting more complicated. People's lives are dependent on that type of like salary, and if you don't know what you're doing, you don't have a real approach. Like one of my pet peeves is like I'll see a bar open and they'll hire people, and a weekend they're just like barely launching the menu, when in my mind it should be, a menu should be made 3 months before they even hire people, so that when the people come on, they just talk about what kind of concept they're going for. Just like food, right? Like it'd be weird if you got hired as a chef and then there's no menu yet. You're just like, well, we're just gonna figure it out 3 days opening. And I'm like, well, we have this idea, but we're just gonna like R&D and see what people like or don't like. I think the best bars I've seen make menus where they don't care what people are gonna think. Shout out to Baby G, shout out to Grasshopper for that very same thing. I know Grasshopper was specifically with the music. It was like the first bar in Long Beach that was like strictly vinyl, and people would come in there and be like, where's the reggaeton? Where's the hip hop? And it would like literally, I don't know if it hurt their business. I didn't work there, but now they have such a loyal audience because they know that it's just like vinyls, Duranguenses, and you get to, and it's all vinyl. So then you get like a different type of crowd. But all crowds matter.
Baby G did not sponsor this podcast.
You're on it.
Check on. Dumbest excuse to get out of work.
Dumbest excuse I've ever used to get out of work. I don't know. I never call off.
You know it's a lie. You should drink for that. That was a lie.
Worst excuse I've ever had to use.
No. Dumbest excuse.
Dumbest excuse? I don't know. I feel like one that was just more like frowned upon was I called out for being like just hungover. I was like, straight up, man, just not feeling it today. But it was cool because at least at that bar I could talk to my manager that way. But like, honestly, I'm just not gonna be that employee today. And it was other people, so
fair
it was
enough.
like
I
chill.
mean, back in the day, like in the beginning of like being a line cook and stuff, and I was like, oh, I want to make sure I'm there every day. And then seeing other people take advantage of the fact that like our job was like union, like one of my first jobs was a union job, and like you could have sick days and da da da.
Sounds horrible.
It was like I wanted to be there every day and make sure I was there and do all this stuff, and I see people taking advantage. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, why am I I was like, so then one day I was like, I'm also gonna call out sick, and I was like, I have a hangover, and I was like, I'm gonna call out sick, and then that was it. I felt bad for it.
Have you ever called out for girl reasons?
Yeah.
They all do it.
And I don't think, wait.
And they all lie.
First of all, you don't know that. Do you keep record of everyone's cycle? How are you
Nope.
gonna know it's a lie?
I'm just saying.
How dare you?
I've
How
heard
dare
that one
he?
too many times.
I think he just mansplained. I don't know. You should drink for that shit.
So drinking is only for punishments, right?
You should be punished for that.
Talking about unions, real quick. They're not good.
No, they're not.
Unions have no place in our industry.
They enable bad
'Cause
behavior. 100%.
I applied for a job at a hotel, and then the oldest guy there would get the best shifts, and I wouldn't get shit. Oh.
I told you you're not gonna get it. The worst coworker you've ever had to work with. Name them and why they sucked.
Worst coworker I've ever
Now
had.
we're snitching.
I'll name them. I don't care. They ain't going nowhere. If this person somehow decided I got hired or fired from a place, I'd be shocked. But let me see. There's quite a few, honestly.
Damn, he said I got a list.
This girl named Christina. She literally stodged at Roxanne's, and I swear to you, 2 weeks in her job, she goes across the street, and if you guys know where Roxanne's is, across the street is like city limits, and she got shit-faced. And she comes back and she's like fucking hammered. I'm talking about like spilling cups, overpouring. It's just like, but like in the way, like not the fun type of overpouring, you know, it's just like, damn, dude, no one's gonna like that drink. And next thing you know, I go to the kitchen to get food, right? I come back out, she's literally on the floor just like asleep.
What?
So worst part is we're like, oh, you gotta go home, you're done, like consider yourself fired, right? I get off of work, which Roxanne's always closes a little earlier than Lana's. I go across the street to Lana's and she's there drinking. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, how did she even manage? Also, Scarlett, straight up, this is a server I worked with. It was St. Patrick's Day. She literally, you know when coworkers make that joke talking about, we should quit. And you're like, you're crazy, girl. Like, whatever. Next thing you know, all her tables are tapping me like, hey, her server hasn't come by. I'm like, what do you mean? I start looking for her all around the building, walking around. I'm like, where's Scarlett? I see her money pouch and her apron just on top of the fridge. Never went back to work. So she's definitely an honorable mention.
Oh.
So that was no fun St. Patrick's Day. Ended up doing a whole patio by myself and being the only bartender. So cheers to that.
To Scarlett.
Yeah. I did make 700 that day though, so I was pretty happy.
What was did you tip out your other staff? I mean, or I'll let you have that one.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, have you ever been sabotaged or been a victim? How or why?
My God, my first fucking job. I was so shy and quiet. And I really just was like, obviously, like we always want to be the best version of ourselves, but I was like, okay, this is my first job. I'm a line cook and like I want to be the best, like, and I just want to like do great. And I was like, like really like just really in it. And this one cook that was there, and this is why I do not like union workers. They get away with everything. His name was Mark Anthony, not the singer, but that was his fucking name. And my chef at the time, his name was Joe. And I just got there. I was like, you know, wide-eyed, and I was like, oh my God, I'm cooking, you know, blah, blah. He was talking shit on the chef. And I guess they were trying to get him fired or some shit like that. So then he then made a case and said something like I had said something, like talking shit about Chef Joe, saying that, oh, he was a computer chef. All he did was ever look up recipes online, and he wasn't like actually like in it. Mind you, this chef actually trained and worked with Charlie Palmer.
Sounds like her.
Like, so like, you know, what? Excuse me? No. And like, I got pulled into the office, and I was like, I just started, and why am I getting pulled into the fucking office to be reprimanded? They're like, did you say these things? And I was like, no. And I was just so angry because like this person was being really nice to me and like showing me the ropes or whatever like that, trying to like befriend me, when all that they were trying to do was just like get me kind of fired and in trouble, and at the same time getting somebody else in trouble. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was just like, okay, so nobody here wants to be like nice, like for real, like y'all really out here for blood. And I was like, okay, noted. Noted. I mean, I still kept being nice, but I was like, now I had like my wits about me, and that was like my first taste of like being sabotaged because it was somebody trying to just like fuck with me for no fucking reason. So
how long did you work there?
I was at USC for 3 years, working at USC.
3 years. That just shows how much abuse front of house and back of house take. We're just like, oh, I mean, it could be worse. That's crazy. 3 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
The audience knew what that was. Fuck.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, how do you feel when a guest doesn't leave a tip?
Okay, so once upon a time I was a server, and I get why they don't leave a tip, and it's because they want to prove a point, to tell you that you did a shitty job, that you didn't make them happy, you didn't do the things that they wanted you to do, you didn't jump through the fucking hoops, you didn't come and kiss their feet, blah, 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 blah. I get the whole point of not leaving the tip. But did you recognize that the room was flat sat? Did you recognize that I was the only person on there? Did you recognize that I was not only fucking taking orders, but I'm making motherfucking lattes? That I'm doing the cash wrap, that I'm doing to-goes, that I'm running my own fucking food? Did you recognize that I am doing everything that calls for somebody else to fucking be there with me? And you don't want to tip me. All because you want to prove a point and be able to walk out of this building and say, she didn't do her job accordingly, so she doesn't get a tip. I'm doing not just my job, but the work of somebody else who's probably running late or has just called out on me. So fuck you and your no tip leaving ass. I don't gotta see you again. So, you know, like, that's how I feel about
Honestly, I could live with not getting tipped. I just hate it when they leave a Yelp review. Because half the time, it's not even as bad as they make it seem. 80% of like Yelp reviews, and this is the cool thing, like when you moved up the chain from like a bartender, I feel like you take it really personal, and then you become a manager, and then you kind of just like, you kind of like really weigh, like it has to be something that's like outrageous. You're like, damn, that happened, and then like they put it right in the review. But when they say things like, the host didn't smile when I got there.
Oh god.
Oh my god, that's the worst. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, just did you sit down? Did you get a server? Did you get food get there on time? They don't put any of that, right? They just be like, didn't smile. That just soured my whole experience from the beginning. And you're just like, so when someone doesn't tip, I don't know. It also makes me feel like sometimes people go out and they don't have money. You know, depends also where you work. Like some like if you're coming into like a place that has small bites and stuff like that, half the time people are gonna maybe just be there for drinks and
And I get that part, and I wasn't saying that. Like, sometimes, yeah, all you have is $50 to spend, and your bill came out to 48 and some change. I get that part,
Yeah.
and I 100% get that. My perspective was solely coming from,
like you gave like excellent
you
top to bottom
gave
service.
everything you could, and somebody just decided they wanted to be that person that day. Don't let it, like, I don't let it get to me. I never did when I was like being a server. I was like, I didn't let it get to me.
Also, when you don't tip, you're affecting the busser, the dishwasher, and obviously we were just talking about
the kitchen
as well.
Yeah.
So maybe like I don't know, weigh your options. You know, like is that server that bad that everyone else should pay?
I don't know. Maybe don't be a dick.
I like that.
You were gonna say that?
No,
Oh.
but I was thinking it.
I want to put it on a bumper sticker. Fuck! You're pushing it closer to you.
I don't know about that. Who works harder, front of house or back of house?
Wait, didn't we?
So you answered again. No.
Oh, back of house. Of course I'm going to say back of house. This is biased. I'm a chef. I'm going to say it. I mean, the PC answer is going to be, we all work collectively together in unison to make, you know, the world go round in the restaurant industry, which we really do. I'm being very honest about that. I don't think that one works harder than the other. I think that everybody works as hard as they can in their areas to work together, and they all work hard to make everything go right. I don't think there's a real like, you work harder than I do. We all work hard in our areas to work together. There are people within those sections that work not as hard as some. There's also working smarter, you know, not harder. There's also people being lazy. So there's a lot of other kinds of things to it. I don't think that it means that front of house works less harder than back of house. Also, front of house has to deal with customers. Back of house does not. We deal with them in their check. We deal with them here in the modifications, but that's where we rely on front of house to be our first line of defense, to say, unfortunately, we don't make these kinds of modifications. Unfortunately, we don't do that, but can we do something else for you? And every time I've had a pre-shift and I've talked to like my staff, I say, you guys are our first line of defense. I don't want to have to go out there and talk to these people. Please, like, don't modify the tickets as much as you can. Like,
do you tell the servers we're family?
Huh?
Do you tell the servers we're family?
Yeah, we do the whole YMCA song and everything like that.
We're not a family. This is a job.
Oh my God. No, we are a team. I say we're a team.
All right, team. I'll go for team, not
We're a
family
team.
though.
Yes.
Well,
Ha!
All right.
Ah, I got stuck.
You get that one.
I'm glad there's not a ticket stabber here. I'd be fucked right now. What is your favorite drink at Bamboo Club?
Shout out to D Train, D Bustin, Dustin. All right. My favorite drink at Bamboo, even though they never have it. No, just kidding. Because of chartreuse. Sorry, it's not his fault.
Gotta love some chartreuse.
Wait,
Those
can we keep
monks.
that? The piña verde.
You like the bean?
The piña verde at Bamboo Club's the best. Also, the local moco kills. Shishito peppers too, kills.
And in case you guys haven't heard of Bamboo Club, they have an amazing summer music series, and you guys should definitely check it out. They do live bands. It's going on all the way summer, all the way until September 8th. So check them out.
Oh, they also do stand-up comedy. The pork belly bowl, killer. Honestly, they just have good food and cocktails. All right, it's just like every other word. It's just like.
And just like hitting the thing.
That's what she said.
You know what? I'm gonna let you read that one.
Hmm? What qualifications does one need to be called a chef? Yeah, I would have not answered that right. I'm like a cool coat.
I don't know. I can say that for me, I didn't start accepting that term or like that name in front of my government name, right? Like that title until maybe like 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And it was because, not saying that like there's so much that comes along with it. It's not just the cooking part, but it's understanding like the management of like time and like food costing and doing inventory. And during COVID, I got to learn so much getting to work, not just for myself doing things privately, but also working for different companies where they allowed me the opportunity to learn, to get educated, to see like the back-end operations of what it really takes to be a chef. Anybody can go ahead and cook, but I think Anthony Bourdain has said this before, and some other chefs have said this as well, that when you have reached the part where you're like now managing like labor and food costs, that's when you can really start calling yourself a chef. Anybody out there can just like make food, but there takes so much more to it when having to take care of an entire business. And it does take grit, it does take resiliency. You have to be able to improvise, adapt, overcome, lead as best you can possible, and especially now during these times, like lead with like kindness. It's not coddling, you know, being graceful, but there's a lot that comes into play like for it all. And I continue to learn each and every day with every new restaurant I work at, with every chef I come into contact with and I'm able to work with them. There's never just one right answer, because every chef is different. But at the end of the day, they just all are passionate, and that passion goes through just so many different levels. And you have to really love what you do to be a good chef, because at the end of the day, being a chef, at some point you're a teacher and you are a coach, and you have to be well versed in your field from start to finish in order to be a good chef. And I don't even feel for myself like I'm there yet, and I'm happy that I'm not, because that means I get to continue to learn. And I just want to keep being a student in this craft and keep learning. So for me, I have that title, yes, but there's still more for me to go. There's still more I want to learn and like do. So I don't know, that's kind of what my answer is.
I feel like the equivalent to that is being called a mixologist. Like, I would never call myself a mixologist, just because that's like a corny ass term. But if a customer was like, oh, because they appreciate a cocktail I made for them or something, and they called me a mixologist, I'd be like, cool. I'm not gonna be like, actually, I'm just a bartender. Don't put that label on me. I feel like it's the same thing in the sense like you do end up moving up another tier where you start evaluating the way you play with spirits. And I mean, something really popular right now happening in Mexico is using the kitchen to create garnishes. Shout out to Ryo that does their pastry chef does the garnishes for their cocktails, and I think it's such a beautiful thing because that's like literally what we're trying to do in this podcast, just bring front of house and back of house together. And essentially, hopefully that's what I end up seeing in the future at other bars I work at or any other concept I end up at. Because yeah, it's getting there. I mean, sometimes you just want to do a really complicated cocktail, but you need support. You need a team. Yeah.
You complete me.
Always.
That's what. Damn it.
That's a wrap. They're thanking me for participating. Thank you for participating.
Thank you for bringing me on here and introducing. Thanks, guys, for having us. Loved it. It was fun.
All right, shout out to Bustin' Dustin.
Shout out to the industry, period. Front of house, back of the house, and everything in between. We move this chain together, and yeah, so keep making good food and good drinks.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.